So I also want to reinforce the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing. No, I have to. Alrighty guys, got everything all sanded out, blocked it on 150. It's pretty smooth. You can barely see where I welded it now that I got all the primer off of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some filler work real quick. I might as well do it now and just get it out of the way on this side. I'm probably not gonna go above this line. It kind of goes across the quarter panel. I'm just gonna basically go from top down, pretty much cover this quarter panel in a skim coat, just because it has been heavily worked on. So I wanna make sure this thing's glass smooth. It'll only be like a super thin skim coat, but like all this stuff that I hammered and dollied, you can see there's high and low spots all over it. So I just wanna make sure it is flat. This is actually pretty dang smooth, but it's just a little high spot I gotta knock down. Just a bunch of little things. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out the filler, go ahead and start blocking stuff out. So we're about to start doing some filler work on that quarter panel. It's something I should probably just do and get it out of the way. That panel looks like crap. I hate looking at like 9 different colors. So this is the filler I use. It's a little bit nicer. If you can stay away from Bondo if you can. Bondo, in my opinion, is just kind of junk. It doesn't adhere to moisture very well. The second it gets exposed to it, it likes to basically open its pores and allow water underneath your paint, and that is obviously not good. We don't want that. So yeah, this stuff's a lot better. Go to an actual paint supply store or body shop and actually get it. But I understand not everybody can afford nice like filler. So if I'm gonna do all this work myself, I might as well make it easier on myself and use a higher quality filler, which is what this is. So as you can tell, this is just by the smell. You guys, I know you can't smell it, but this stuff's pretty gnarly. Yeah, just gonna try to not make a mess here. It's not gonna work, I already know. Oh my god, that stuff smells gnarly. Holy crap. I already effed up because I didn't grab anything to scoop this with. Okay, do myself a favor and throw this down. And then I have an actual board that's like got paper on it designed to where you can mix it on this. I prefer doing that because cardboard pulls, I don't know, I was told that if you use like cardboard or a plate or something weird, cardboard specifically, it pulls like the particles from the cardboard get in the filler, and I don't know, there's a bunch of different reasons, but can't clean stuff with my shirt when my shirt isn't clean. So I also want to reinforce the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing, not a clue. Oh my gosh. The good thing is I can tell this stuff's gonna spread really well. I'm gonna do this Bad Chad style right now. If you guys have ever seen Bad Chad's YouTube channel, I recommend watching it. He just pounds this stuff out because he uses so much filler because of the amount of metal work he does. So he just basically globs it on the paper and then just starts mixing it and then just soaks it on and gets as much coverage as he can basically. I'm trying to figure out, I don't really, like I said, I have not a freaking clue what I'm doing, so watch with an open mind because I'm not necessarily teaching you guys how to do this, I'm just showing you guys me doing it. There's that, but I think that's probably a pretty liberal amount. I think we'll call it at that. So I'll do this. I think I used too much hardener, damn it. The one thing I also learned from Bad Chad is if you do use too much hardener, just grab more filler. Just grab more filler and then do it that way. Yeah, I can tell this is a very green color. I need more filler on this. I use way too much hardener. Like I said, I have not a damn clue what I'm doing. Also, you can tell by using this paper instead of cardboard, this does not come, like it doesn't, like it actually, if you want to pick it up, it'll pick it up. It doesn't just smear it. All right, it's kind of a race against the clock, so I'm gonna go spread this real quick. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Like I said, no clue what I'm doing. Oh shit. Hopefully this works. I'm just gonna start back here. I can already tell I'm gonna need so much more filler than this. And I can also tell it's already hardening, so that's cool. Oh, there it goes on the floor. There's probably so many better techniques than this, but this is just what I know, so. I've done a little filler work, but not much. Yeah, you can see it's already hardening, son of a bitch. No, I have to, yep, mess that up. Son of a bitch. Ah, junk. Like I said, not the freaking clue what I'm doing. So peel that off, because that's all hard now. too much hardener. At least the back part's good. Nice. Okay, I got a lot more filler work to do, so I'm just gonna come back when I figure this out because I got some practicing to do. Oh boy. All right, guys. So it was very difficult to film. So I was just like going. And I was trying to teach myself as I was going. And the only thing I learned is I should freaking wear gloves because I got it all over my hands and it dried in all the cracks of my fingernails. And anyways, not too bad for my first go around with it. You're probably like freaking out of the amount that's here. Almost all of it's going to get sanded off. That's kind of the way it goes. You kind of just basically flood the whole thing and then we'll knock it down to pretty much nothing. It's not a thick coat by any means. It's really just coverage. And I know there's a lot of waviness, like not crazy, but just minor waviness from me doing hammer dolly work back here. So I want to make sure everything is covered and then I can find all the high and low spots through the filler. So like I said, pretty much all this will get sanded off. I know there's a weld seam pretty much right here. So everything around that weld seam will be gone. It'll get pretty much completely sanded off. There's also another weld seam up here, which is why this is like that. So yeah, that's pretty much how it looks so far. I think it looks pretty good. Filler's hard. I became a metal guy because I hate filler that much. But every metal guy has to be a filler guy at one point. So trying something new, I guess. All right, so nice. Gave the filler a chance to dry. I've not really done too much filler work. I can admit I suck at it. The only way to get better is to actually try it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I got 40 grit on the DA, so I'll pull out in a second. And I'm basically gonna just knock almost all this off. You can see a lot of it, but basically, like I said, hammer and dolly work, and then there's a weld seam here. So that's all I'm really trying to do is just fill those seams. So you'll see I'll sand like 80 or 90% of this off. So yeah, I'm gonna get to sanding. I got 40 grit. It'll knock everything down, level surface, and then we can start blocking. So we get to it. Alright guys, so I got this whole quarter pretty much sanded, or at least our initial sanding done. You can see there's still a lot of filler on it. So what I noticed is there's a bunch of high spots right here, which you can now see where the weld was. It's right along here, pretty much running all the way down. So this is not going to be perfect. This isn't, you know, bitchin' rides with 800 guys on one panel. It's me on the side of my house, so I just need to make sure it's good. Anything that shows bare metal like this is going to need basically another coat of filler. So I'm going to do at least 2 coats of filler to make sure that I get the whole base level. And this isn't thin. This isn't a thick coat at all, as you can tell. There's lots of little high and low spots across the whole thing. This is mils thick at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and do another coat of filler basically now, come back when it's all sanded again, and then basically you'll see a pretty big difference. Alright guys, round 2 of sanding done for the most part. So you can see there's a lot more coverage now. What I've learned and what I've heard through other guys I've talked to about it is basically anywhere you see metal or primer coming through as a high spot, and if you expose that high spot like something like this, that is now too high. So when you prime over this, you will see it. So basically you need to flood this whole thing and then come down just to where you're starting to see it. So this is still honestly too much. I could probably get away with it if I use a high build primer, but like you want to basically be stopping at stuff like this. That's a little bit too much. This is okay. A little bit, that one's probably okay. But see, this is way too much. All this, you can see the high spots right here. And actually what I was doing, so when I sanded all this stuff off second time around, I realized it's still too uneven metalwork wise to continue with filler. So what I ended up doing is sanding this, and I've gone down this entire panel and basically hammered and dollied all these high spots. So I'll take my regular hammer, I'll go on the top side, and then you can see I have my dolly right here. So I'll put the dolly on the bottom, or vice versa, depending on which way I need to go. I'll basically be hitting all these spots down here. And I notice when I come from the back of the car, it won't pick it up on camera, but there's a slight dent right around my hand is, right about here. So I'm trying to get this seam to come out. That's been very difficult. I can't lie to you guys about that. You can see all the ripple effects down here. Somebody hit this car back here. So trying to get this straight is very difficult. So I want you guys to keep that in mind on why there's any filler at all back here, is because this was smashed. So the fact it's even remotely straight now, I'm pretty impressed with myself. I'm not gonna lie. This was all super wavy and beat up. This whole seam was pretty much smashed and flattened. So the fact any of this looks the way it does, I'm happy with. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep on going down this thing, get it all straight, and do some more hammer and dolly work. Do one last coat of filler, sand it all off, and then do 80 grit and primer. All right, guys, so progress is being made. Basically, I'm finishing everything in the door jamb area, getting all it gapped, making sure this is smooth, and picking up the last little high spots over here. So, the one thing that I know I'm gonna get comments on is why am I using so much filler? I wanna reiterate that this car, literally I cut the back of it off. I cut the entire side of this car off. So everywhere that you will see filler is somewhere I either welded or I had a hammer and dolly on. So basically, right here, you can, well, it's kind of hard to even tell, but right here there's a stitch weld that starts right about here and goes all the way down the side of the car. Right here, in this seam right here, which is why it's so thick in this one spare area, and it's not really thick anywhere, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, there is a weld seam that goes all the way to the bottom of the car, and then these two pieces are together. You can see, that's why you can see there's still filler, there is a little high spot. Inside the door jamb, it wraps around, and I had to stitch weld all the way down that thing. That's why there's filler in this door jamb. There's not a lot, it looks like a lot, I haven't even sanded, I just applied this. You can see the paper's still there. I'm going to sand most of this off. You can actually see there is bare metal spots right there. So it's literally just to give me a nice smooth finish. Based on the work that I did, the last thing I want to do is go through all this work, paint it, and because I don't have any filler in it, the whole thing's just wavy all the way down. So I'd rather have filler on it to make sure I can get the car as straight as I can. It's not going to be perfect. Obviously, this isn't the greatest new sheet metal. That's what we have on my other car, but this one, I'd say for what we have, it's going to look pretty good. So the one thing I'm going to do now while I'm waiting for some of this filler to dry before I go through my last blocking segment and get ready for primer, I'm going to go ahead and grind off all these little spot welds on the back taillight panel, start getting it prepped and ready to be body worked as well. Okay, well now I have a big mess over here. I've got new filling stuff. So I had 2 tanks for this car. Both of them are complete junk, unfortunately. So I basically stored them for a year for no reason. We have an automatic direct sending unit because this one specifically I wanted. It says 3/8 line. So this has a 3/8 bung on the end of it. So I can run 3/8 line because big block problems. And then this is the tank, which is from Canada, which is kind of cool. It's not a Chinesium tank, but it's probably a little bit nicer. So yeah, this is a Rock Auto piece. This is a little bit cheaper. There's a bunch of them, but really I needed what was in stock, and this was in stock, so I bought it. I'm not sure how the neck's gonna fit. We'll see. I'm probably gonna modify it anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip this process, throw it in the car, and show you guys what I want to do with it. So I went ahead and threw all the body panels on. It looks pretty good. I went ahead and put the bumper on for test fitting purposes to try to figure out how it's gonna fit, considering, like I keep saying, I did cut the back of the car off, so I wanna make sure everything lines up the way it should. And already right off the bat, I noticed that the bumper line is way better. The reason that I found out my old taillight panel was bent, because when the bumper was on it, you can notice that this was pushed in further. So now I have a different trunk, different taillight panel, everything's all new. This seems to fit much better. So I'm definitely liking the way that looks. You can now see it's all together, and kind of the back end is all mostly assembled. It's missing a few things here and there, trim and whatnot, but that's pretty much what it will look like. But I think our body filler is finally tacked up enough where I can start sanding it. So I'm gonna do one final sand on this thing and get this baby primered. All right, guys, I think that's about where I'll call it. So unfortunately, it's too cold to primer out, and you can see it's all wet, and it rained yesterday, so it's like in the 60s today. There's no way I can spray a urethane primer over this without having stuff shrink and crack and run and do other weird things. But it looks really, really good. I'm happy with the curvature, the finish. It looks really good. It's straight now. There's a couple spots I still gotta do. I'm not 100% done. It's pretty much ready for primer, at least. I'm happy with my door gap. That looks pretty good, pretty much all the way down. So yeah, I can say I'm pretty happy with that. That's my first real, experience with filler. I'm learning as I go, so I think that looks pretty good. I'll know once I spray the urethane on it what's actually good. So moving to the front of the car, I'm doing some work in the engine bay. I ran the fuel line up through the firewall. Before, someone had it ran pretty much right through here above the upper control arm in between the header, so I kept vapor locking. It was a horrible spot for it. So I ran it underneath the body mount up to the firewall, and then I have a bracket where I'm mounting my fuel regulator up on the firewall, which will come off the master cylinder. So I got a dual pod in there now, and then I'll basically run it across and then through the back of the carburetor, so you won't see any ugly fuel lines up in the front of the engine. It'll all be back there. But yeah, so that'll be for a future video. That should be pretty fun. Tanks in, most of the lines are ran. You can see I'm starting to get those ran. So finishing that up today. But yeah, so making headway on this thing. I'm trying to get it running and driving hopefully by the end of the year. I would like to paint it, but we're trying to get the weather to work with us. It's still too cold, so once we get a nice hot day, we can actually do some body work and paint it. But I'm gonna get all the body work done up until that point, so hopefully all we have to do is spray it. But anyways, I hope you guys went on to enjoy today's video. If you did, leave a like on this video. It'd really mean a lot to me. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I got some work to do on this car, so I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.